What is up, guys? Oh, man. It is good to be here. It is not Monday. It's actually Tuesday. It might feel like a Monday where you are, but it is Tuesday, September the 5th. Coming in. Going to be doing some TA, going to be covering some stories. You were watching the Investing Bros. I'm glad to have you in. Seeing a lot of good names in here. We'll get to the names in just a second. But got some updates for Ethereum coming in, and JP Morgan is opening their mouth and information is coming out. We want to see what that is, see what's going on over there at JP Morgan. And then we also want to hear from a crypto legend, Arthur Hayes. He said some stuff over at the Korea Blockchain Week over in Seoul, Korea. Some really interesting insights to pay attention to. But guys, you might be wondering, where the heck is Tim? Well, Tim was not feeling very well this morning, unfortunately. And so I'm covering for him. And, you know, it's a T-Shroom takeover. It's an opportunity for T-Shroom, myself, to get out there and show you guys a little bit of my TA, show you guys a little bit of my perspective, and we're going to have a lot of fun. I do have a quote of the day for everybody, and you guys can take a look at it now. The quote is, "Do it now. Sometimes later becomes never." Somebody out there needed to hear that just now. Somebody needed to know that what they've been waiting on needs to go into full action mode right now. Maybe it's not you, but maybe it is. Maybe it is you. Maybe you've been sitting on the sidelines waiting for something good to happen, but you need to get your head in the game. You need to get in the game, and you need to make it happen. Whether it be proposing to that special someone, or applying to that job, or applying for promotion in the job you do have, or maybe investing. Maybe go ahead and investing something, a little bit more than you ever thought that you ever would, right? While also being responsible, obviously. Guys, let's go ahead and take a look here at the green names, and the blue names, and the gray names. Seeing a mellow fellow looks like a mellow fellow was the first to come in here. So GMMG Bros. And then Mike Vollmer was second, even though he said first, which can be confusing. But then we also have Joe Nickel. Joe Nickel coming in saying GM happy face. You got to love it. Mike Hunt is doing, saying yo. RSan246 said hello. Mr. Hunt, I hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a really good morning, Mike. Eric Wallen saying T-Shroom takeover. Yes, it is. And there's Mike, Mr. Hunt again. It's me, Crypto Mario, and Ninja Glock, a mellow fellow coming in. Mike Play, Mike Vollmer getting it in there yet again. Crypto Alchemist. That's a oldie but goodie name there. Swag Schmitty. Gia S. Joe Nickel. All right. And Gia S saying happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I hope you had a good Labor Day. I had a pretty good Labor Day. I'm sure Tim had a good Labor Day too, but based on his text this morning, he's not having a good post game for Labor Day. I don't know what was going on. Maybe he had some bad Chinese food or something. Yes. Nancy Croy said good morning. Justin Eubanks saying yo. Mr. J saying good morning. Sativio Shramoto saying what's up. Got to hang out with Sativio yesterday, actually, at Sonny's Barbecue. Throw a Sonny's in chat if you have a Sonny's in your town or you've ever been to a Sonny's and had the delight of feasting on some of their barbecue selections. Eric Wallen said, T-Shroom takeover, baby. Yes. Everyone is excited for the T-Shroom takeover. We're going to be getting some interesting into some interesting stuff here. Stevie Shrum saying praying for Tim. Yes, the prayers are very welcome. CryptoSec guy said no, he didn't want to talk about FSU. The truth comes out, Tim. We're gonna have to have a talk because if that's the case, then it's really sad. There's more to life than football, Tim. CryptoSec guy, yes. That could be the case. I did watch the FSU LSU game. FSU, a Florida team. I'm from Florida, but I'm a Gator fan, right? So I can't officially cheer for FSU at all. But I did watch the FSU LSU game with a buddy of mine. We had a good time. And I basically just stayed neutral, just admired the athleticism of some of the young talent out there on the field, and just the good sportsman conduct that was out there displayed, for young Americans growing up, people all over the world, getting to see some good sportsmanship out there on the field. That's what I like to see. All right, let's go ahead and get into our economic analysis here. Guys, on the show, we like to go broad before we get into the specifically the crypto chart analysis. We like to go broad and kind of look at some of the different factors of the economy that may be affecting liquidity and folks' level of interest in Bitcoin. Okay, but before we do that, we just want to bring some attention to our sponsors here, BitGet and Chart Prime. BitGet, a great exchange for trading, becoming less and less so in the U.S., unfortunately. But if you're not in the U.S., BitGet, great place for trading. And then Chart Prime, an excellent indicator suite. There's all kinds of indicators. It seems like every day I'm getting an email or some kind of notification on Discord that there's some new free Chart Prime indicator. So there's all kinds of free content over there, free indicators, I should say, from Chart Prime that you can kind of see, what they're up to over there, what wizardry they're bringing up on the charts. And then, if you think it's right for you, then you can go to the link in our description, get a 45% discount, guys, which is the steepest discount in all of the cryptoverse. And you will be on your way to profitable trading for sure. If you're not already in profit in trading, you will be with Chart Prime. That is not a guarantee, but I've seen many people do that. Many people come into the crypto ecosystem having never traded, see Chart Prime for what it is, and be able to launch their abilities and their skills to the next level. So it's always really exciting to see people do that, to kind of learn, because trading is something I've been doing since I was in high school, trading stocks, and seeing people come into the space and learn. You get to take on a little bit of that mentor role. Man, it's a lot of fun. And then when you add in Chart Prime into the mix, it just gives them it's like for new people, it's kind of like training wheels, and then for experienced people, Chart Prime is almost like jet fuel. It is jet fuel. So it's really cool. It's great for beginners and for experienced people. You get in there, you take a look at Chart Prime, which we will be doing here in just a second when I get to the charts. You will not be disappointed. All right, but taking a look here, Tuesday, Wednesday, there is not really any major data. You do have the ISM Services PMI for August coming out, but that print will not happen until 10 a.m. on Wednesday. We'll absolutely be kind of covering the build up to that. Probably not the print, because this show's usually over at 10 a.m. But you don't have anything of huge significance until the CPI print here on Wednesday, September 13th. That's going to be a pretty big day to watch. It's going to be a pretty big movement. There more than likely would be a lot of volatility that day on Wednesday, September 13th. So definitely be minding your P's and Q's. Make sure that you have your stop losses where they need to be, and make sure that if you're thinking about entering, you don't forget to put in that limit order. All right, well, that's going to be our economic calendar. Again, guys, not a ton really to see other than just the build-up to September 13th at CPI print. It's going to be pretty big. We do have some, Fed speakers and, jobless claims sprinkled in here and there. But for the most part, we're cruising right on through from an economics perspective. Taking a look here at CoinMarketCap, you can kind of see, if you're new to crypto, look, this is your home base. There's a couple other like this, CoinGecko. But this is kind of your home base of where you're seeing the front page of crypto in a sense. So let's take a look here. On the 1 hour, who is up the most out of the top 100? Let's go ahead and reduce this down to top 50. We won't do top 20, but over the last hour, Solana has actually gained the most, up 0.8%, which is pretty modest. And then Toncoin actually down 1%, Stellar down 0.3%. So there's definitely more names down than up this morning. Let's see if that's true. Yeah, I'd say it's about true. It's about half and half, actually. So the market's kind of undecided. On the 24-hour, you get a much more clear picture of which way the market's wanting to go. Toncoin and Uniswap both down here. Litecoin also down 1.5. Let's see who's leading the market here. On the 24-hour is going to be Polygon, Stacks, and Stellar. Stellar had I don't think it was an upgrade, but they maybe got listed on something else, but they had a nice little like 5 to 7% spike over the weekend. That was nice. And so they're seeing some, last 7 days, some kind of 7% spike. So doing pretty well. Speaking of 7-day outlook, well, there's Dogecoin, which Dogecoin becoming more and more taken seriously. We're not really going to talk about him too much on today's show, but Dogecoin definitely not something to sleep on if you are bullish on the Twitter integration narrative that's going forward. It seems to be going forward full speed. Toncoin up 17%, so leading on the week over the last 7 days. Toncoin doing pretty well. I actually described what Toncoin is a couple days ago on the show. I don't think a lot of people know. But it was built by the Telegram team, Telegram, the messaging app, and then they abandoned it. And then I think it became like an open source project by some of the people who worked on it and new folks. So let me know in the chat if you guys are bullish on Toncoin or if you absolutely hate the project. I don't know. I don't really have a preference one way or another. I have my eyes laser focused on Bitcoin for right now and a couple other alts. Chainlink also up 3%. So on the weekly, things are looking a little more bullish, that's for sure. But there are definitely more red names. Even Hedera down 10% over the last week. So it's a kind of a big number. But to be honest with you, not that big of a number for crypto to be down 10% over 7 days. So we're going to look at all the sideways action that there's been, and that's probably where you'll be able to draw your conclusion. Well, the Fear and Greed Index here on marketcap.com is showing 34, but I believe that's for crypto in general. Let's see if there's a little infographic. Trading data, popular crypto coins. So I think this is more of a broad Fear and Greed Index. Let's look at the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index. Oh man, they're hitting me hard this morning, guys, with these Jordan Peterson advertisements. Goodness gracious. We're getting a second quote of the day, brought to you by the Daily Wire. Become the monster you need to be. The trading monster. Awaken the trading monster within with Chart Prime. That's what I say. And then your Fear and Greed here is at 40, right? So 40, it's staying the same since yesterday, and then it has actually ticked more towards fear since last week. So, yeah, getting into the fear. And that's kind of what you want to see if you're a long-term investor, because as the market becomes more fearful, prices become lower in theory, right? And that's when you go in there and you get your bags. And that's a lot of what we're going to be talking about today on the show, is how that all plays out, that dynamic. And if you're new to crypto, this is going to be a good episode for you, because I'm going to try and make it really basic and get down to basics for you all. And then and we'll also have some fun too. So if you're in the chat and you're seeing some people ask some simple or kind of beginner questions, some noob questions, jump in there and help them out a little bit. Speaking of chat, before we get into the charts, let's go ahead. The elves did not prepare a factoid of the day. We got a little bonus quote of the day there from Jordan. So we're gonna hang out with that for a second. Now, Taylor Warren is in the chat. Taylor Warren, of course, the lovely wife of Tim Warren. She said, yo, Gregory in the house. So that means that Gregory Gresick is in the chat, which is pretty awesome. He said, Greg Gresick said, good morning, everybody, which, for those of you who don't know, is a kind of slang, kind of street slang for everyone. Greg's just he's usually one of the more hip guys down in the chat. So it's not really a surprise to see him using such hip and kind of in-trend language in the chat there. Taylor Warren also dropping the question mark. I'm not sure exactly what that it's all about. Oftentimes there's all kinds of conversation going on. Elliot Locke saying, morning peeps. You gotta love it. It doesn't look like there was too many. Okay, more than likely we're talking about college football. I'm calling FSU UGA national championships. Whew. That's quite a prediction. FSU and Georgia, that would be a pretty big game. An exciting one to watch for sure. I don't know how Tim would feel about that, though. And again, guys, I am not an FSU fan. Do not get it twisted. I am a Gator fan through and through. My blood is orange and blue. Tom Wilkes says, morning T-Shroom. I appreciate that. Taylor Warren, I think, may be spilling the beans here on why Tim was not feeling good. She said, too many hot doggies. So maybe Tim will reveal that he was in a hot dog eating contest and that did not go so well. Rickomania said, the T shroom in the house. That is right. I am definitely in the house. I'm in my house. I'm actually in my NFT gallery, as you guys can see behind me. So love it. Gotta love it. Oh, Greg Resnick saying he's got a baby coming at the end of the month. That is awesome. That is really, really cool. It's going to be a blessing. It's going to be a real blessing there for you, Greg. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait for that to happen for you, bud. All right, let's see what else is going on here. Let's go ahead and get into the charts. Seeing a lot of people say good morning, and that is always welcome for sure. But let's go ahead and take a look here at the charts. I'm going to start on the monthly chart here for Bitcoin. And as you can see, I will point out all the chart prime indicators as they come. As you can see here, you do have a green trend assist. You've had it for a while here out on the monthly charts, but still technically under a buy rating. I mean, I don't know how much credence you want to give to that because this is really, really zoomed out, guys. What I do give credence, though, to is the MACD here, right? The MACD histograms have been, and I'll zoom in, have been decelerating pretty significantly here. You know, they had been well, and again, monthly chart here, guys, monthly chart. This has been some deep sell-off time, right? Very, very bearish red histograms here that were just deepening and deepening and deepening into late into September 2022. And then you had a nice little rounding, right? And that we all know and love. And then everybody thought that all risk assets were going to sell off with some kind of hurricane recession in 2023 that never came and still hasn't come, right? And so we had a nice little recovery. Well, now that recovery is kind of losing steam, right? These green histograms are indicating that at least on the Bitcoin front, that buying momentum is waning, and you are seeing those MACD lines cross bullish. There's a beautiful bullish cross here, just a setup for just a launch to the stratosphere here for Bitcoin, but it really got stunted, you know, and you know more than likely the reason why that got stunted is because the Federal Reserve said higher for longer. And while, you know, the bulls thought that they had gotten in some good positions back here, you know, filling in at 19,000 on Bitcoin, unfortunately, you know, our expectations were shattered with some of the more stronger resistance to the upside here around 31 and 32. So it's going to take some time. Bitcoin's reloading again, guys. Remember, doing a lot of TA here for the beginners. So just be there for them in the chat, and we really appreciate it. Taking a look here at the Bollinger Band analysis, you can see Bitcoin on the monthly chart rocking out pretty much right at that midline of the Bollinger Band. So this is what the mega cap tech stocks were doing for a while before they decided to. Let's go look at Microsoft before they decided to launch higher. So this is kind of what Bitcoin was doing for a while. This is where Bitcoin is now, so to speak. Microsoft bucked that, right? They went back down, touched the bottom of the Bollinger Band, and then went and then turned and touched all-time highs, right? So that's Microsoft. Apple did something similar, right? Was hanging out around the midline of the Bollinger Band after this giant run, which I won't zoom out to. You can just take my word for it, and then came down and touched the bottom Bollinger Band before making new all-time highs there, and also being the most valuable company ever and the most valuable entity outside of a government ever. Good for Apple. Get you a round of applause there. A great group of guys over there running that phone manufacturer. But then also you can see, you know, companies like Tesla have not actually followed this pattern. While they had this kind of diddle in the middle here with the midline of the Bollinger Band, they went down, surpassed the bottom band of the Bollinger Band, kind of exceeded that quite a bit on the monthly candle. You can see that's somewhat rare to see such an extension to the downside there. But now have come back and are hanging out again at the Bollinger Band. So there's a lot of comparisons being made to Tesla and Bitcoin right now because they are kind of seen as somewhat similar, right? Somewhat some similar crowds, similar groups of people trading, buying, investing, manipulating, and being manipulated by the market. So similar groups of people trading those assets, Tesla and Bitcoin. But let's go back to Bitcoin and let's drill in a little bit. We've done some monthly analysis, which is essentially, you know, telling us, wait, you know, things might go lower here. Let's see if the lower time frames are going to tell us anything different. My guess is that they probably won't, but let's give it the benefit of the doubt here. Taking a look here at the weekly, you can see that we've just put in a new, well, the current candlestick here on the week has the potential to close a new low, right? A lower low here compared back to here in June 5th and June 12th, where we put in a low of 25.9. This new candlestick, yes, we did not. This previous candlestick did not put in a close a low below those figures, but the one we're in now could. Right, we have 5 days and 11 hours to prove it wrong, but 25.7 is where we are now, and that could easily close. That is a close. If we were to close today, that would close below these old low candlesticks, which would basically signal what? Take a guess. What would that signal? If you get a lower low, I'll wait. I'm not going to wait long enough to see your chat, but that is going to signal essentially we're going lower, right? There's not enough buying pressure to keep this above that lower price point. So if we were to stop here, right, and we were to close where this weekly candle had wicked all the way up to, right, 28.1, you're going to see a lot of money pour in because it's a very bullish close. But to be honest, there was kind of signals that that even that wasn't bullish enough because it did not get past the midline of the Bollinger Band there on the weekly, and it also didn't get past this T-box, so to speak. When I say T-box, I mean T-shroom box, not Tim box, because I drew this box. So anyway, that's the weekly charts. Not really showing much bullishness here, unfortunately. You're seeing basically, a new low and potentially a push lower. Now you are seeing from Chart Prime a green trend assist, and that green trend assist is saying that 23,000 may be a major price for support, right? So and this is a price that is actually kind of resonating with a lot of the crypto community. You scroll through Twitter, charts that are being provided on there, you are seeing 23,000 being a major line of support that is coming up. So if we drop down, right, if there's some kind of news story or just honestly just a whale sale or just a move to the downside, the more recent moves, yes, they've coincided with news. Like the ETF delay was the one that kind of brought this major red candlestick down and pushed us through this formation that was forming, which could have broken bullish, by the way. Hasn't. Also hasn't broken that much to the downside quite yet. Has stayed in a little bit of a crab market. But now with this new lower low that could print here on the weekly, you're more than likely going to see a move to the downside. Well, guys, I've kind of beaten this dead horse pretty well. Let's go to the other crypto that is actually green on the day. So Bitcoin down 0.2, but Ethereum is actually up 0.2. So let's go ahead and take a look there at Ethereum and see what we can't pull out of here. So in the same way here, you can see that there's been a lower low put in and closed since those June 12th lows that we saw in Bitcoin. Ethereum has already come lower and closed. It closed with that August candlestick. So that August 14th candlestick. So you can see that there's not even as much bullishness in Ethereum as there is on Bitcoin during this time. And I mean, it kind of makes sense, right? People are way more excited about Bitcoin than Ethereum just generally. I see in some names in the chat here. Crypto Archie saying, "Hey guys," Crypto Seth saying, "Yo." So you gotta love it. Great to see the Crypto Gem Hunters in the chat. And Crypto Trade saying, "I love me some T-Shroom TA." You gotta. I try to just say it like it is. There's no beating around the bush. Tim definitely gives you a lot more granular of analysis, but I like to kind of paint with broad strokes. And I like to do it. And Crypto Trade sounds like he's really, really grooving with it. So I'm appreciative. Yeah, so that's going to be the weekly charts for Ethereum. Let's go ahead and drill in down on Ethereum. Let's go down to the daily chart for Ethereum and just kind of see what we can pull out here. So you were starting to tick down into the discount zone back here in August 17th specifically. We haven't returned to that. So if you're a new trader, you might be thinking, where is Ethereum going? I'm hearing that there's not a lot of buyers in the market. There's more sellers than buyers right now, and it's true. Right, but if you take a look here, you can see that this downtrending line of resistance is also a pretty clear indicator that Ethereum is going lower. It hasn't been able to break through this. Back here, it had a failed breakthrough. It did get up above it, right, but it came right back down, had a massive red candlestick, slicing through that equilibrium zone that it was trying to get down through, successfully broke through to that, and then ticked down to the discount zone. That was quite a volatile week, I'm sure you all remember. Came back up, traded higher, testing the downtrending line of resistance yet again until it decided to go ahead and sell off there as well, and has now, basically respected this 1628 line of support, and the market's now wondering just how long that's going to last. You saw this low come in back here around these levels. This low came in back in June 15th of 2023, right? And now we've obviously closed lower than that a few times, which again, what does that indicate? Indicates probably going to see a move lower, probably a move down into the discount zone, right? From chart prime. Chart prime gives you this box, tells you basically, where a lot of traders and investors are looking, where they want to buy, right? And where the charts are telling us that the price of the underlying asset is actually now on discount. Not by any specific tight definition, right? But just generally based on the price history of this chart and the price history of other charts. It's kind of bringing it all together. We do have a super chat from Crypto Seth donating 2 foreign units of currency, saying, "Master Trader T-Shroom, keep it up, boys. Love to see it. Absolutely love to see it." I saw, I think it was on Twitter, an awesome picture of Crypto Archie staring into the camera saying laser focused, which you got to really appreciate that. And then also Crypto Archie, or Crypto Seth, I believe, was live this morning. So you got to love it. Coming at you from Dubai, UAE, United Arab Emirates, is Crypto Seth and Crypto Archie in the chat. I think it's like what, midday over there? Maybe like midday, like 3 p.m., something like that, over there in Dubai. All right. It is 9:27, guys. We've taken a look at Bitcoin. We've taken a look at Ethereum. I'm gonna spin the dial here, and I'm gonna take a look at Atom. Atom may not be something that's in your HODL bag, but it's definitely something that's in mine. I had it in Binance.us for a while, and ADA Ace helped me see the light. He said, get it out of there and put it in the Exodus wallet. So that is what I'm doing. I'm waiting for Atom to unstake right now so that I can take the interoperability coin and put it into Exodus, where it is going to be getting so much more APY. I can't remember exactly the spread, but it's definitely north of 18%, which is kind of crazy. Chris saying the sound is too low. I haven't heard that from anyone else, Chris, but I will go ahead and increase the sound just a little bit here on my end, and we will keep on shucking and jiving here. Mike Lowry said, great show today, holding the fort down by yourself. Yes, T-Shroom, it's a T-Shroom takeover. Well, Tim is more than likely still sick. He's not doing well. Taylor Warren, his wife, came into the chat and said is because he ate too many hot dogs. So that is what we are. That is the going theory right now, which is not very bullish for Tim. Adam, let's take a look at it here out on the weekly, because we're probably not going to be tracking this very much throughout the week and months here, but we want to bring it to you here. So you can see it broke out of this formation a lot earlier than Bitcoin did, made a move to the downside. So that's already telling me pretty bearish, right? That there's definitely not as much of a buyer side to the Atom market as there is Bitcoin. Not a surprise, right? Not a huge surprise for that. Taking a look here at the MVP oscillators, you can see that it's kind of nearing like at a bottom out phase, right? Let's see, back here, it bottomed out, and this was the signal for a nice bottom that if you bought, you could have ridden it up 131%, right? That's over several bars, though. You wouldn't be blamed for selling early on that one, especially during this pullback here on Atom. But more than likely, guys, look, what is nice here about Atom is that it is only just now reaching the low back here from January 13th. So I would love to see where the discount zones aren't printing for Atom on the weekly chart. Let's go down to the daily to see. Yeah, so the discount zone is currently where Atom is trading, which is kind of nice, guys. If you like the Atom thesis, which Atom has basically positioned itself to be a high APY interoperability chain, this might not be a bad time to start DCAing into Atom, or maybe picking up some more Atom and adding it to your bags. Now, generally, right now, I would make the argument, and I know that the crypto gem hunters are in the chat, so they may not like to hear this, but I think that probably Bitcoin, right, is maybe Ethereum is where I'm deploying more capital, right? Just because the alts right now are just, there's less and less people that are interested in alts and interested in risk assets in general right now, just because of the liquidity situation, just because of good old Jerome Powell over there saying, that they're going to be higher for longer. Until we get the all clear from Jerome, right, that we're going to start seeing some cuts at some point, right, we're pretty much sitting on our hands and waiting on the sidelines. Now, if you're like me, you haven't been patient enough to just wait on the sidelines, and you have deployed into altcoins, and you have deployed into Bitcoin and stocks as well. Right. And so when I say, it might be a good time to buy Atom, I'm saying that technically, based on the charts, it is, by definition in the discount zone, by the definition of chart prime, at least on the daily chart. So it's not a bad time to accumulate, especially if you're thinking that there could be some upside just from a trade standpoint. Right. So we'll see. Jojo saying, was Tim in a hot dog eating contest? I think that might be the case. I think that he may have gone to an FSU, LSU. Well, that would have been 2 nights ago. So I don't know. I think that it might be the case, though. Kid Coman said, dry powder on the side. These idiot leftists are locking us down. I guess you're referring to... I'm not sure what you're referring to, because you may be referring to some other lockdowns, the pandemic lockdowns. That would be quite a development. Can't rule it out. These days, you never know what the heck's going to happen. But I think more than likely, the reason why I want to keep dry powder on the sidelines is because of the stories we're about to cover. And more than likely, we're just not going to see that face melting move to the upside that everyone's been expecting for a little longer, which is unfortunate. But it's the way the cookie crumbles. And we're gonna talk about some strategies here in just a second of what we can do to try to capitalize on the situation you're in, right? Just because things aren't going perfectly doesn't mean you can't adapt your strategy. Guys, we're now going to slide into our community section here before we get into the stories. We've concluded charts. We took a look at Bitcoin. We took a look at Ethereum and Atom. We only drilled down as deep as the daily charts on those names. So if you're looking for more up-to-date or current candlestick analysis for those names, for Bitcoin specifically, definitely tune in. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe to this channel for more up-to-date crypto analysis, whether it be technical analysis or the stories we're about to cover. And guys, it looks like you guys have been hitting the chat, but there's 123, you've been hitting the like, sorry. There's 123 viewers right now live and only 66 likes. So we got to get those numbers up, mi amigos. We've got to get those numbers forming a higher low for sure. All right, guys. So community-wise, we had a great Saturday show this last week. This last weekend, it was a lot of fun. We didn't have a show yesterday, so we really went all out on Saturday. And if you're in the chat, you had some fun. Let us know. And also, coming up this next Saturday, we're going to have another Saturday show. So definitely I'm excited for that. We're going to have a lot of fun. The following Saturday, I will not be here, but we don't need to worry about that quite yet. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. James Sack is saying, where my friend Army guy? So Army Piper, for those of you who don't know, I'm going to make this real quick. He has not been on the channel for a little while just because he's taking care of his dad, who's come into some poor health. So that is what's going on with Army Piper. But I was talking to him yesterday in the Discord voice chat. We talked for about an hour and a half. Bedridden was in the chat with us. We had a good old time. Guys, today's Tuesday, which means we have bro time today at 3 p.m. on YouTube. As of now, that is not canceled, but if Tim is not doing well, he may have me do that solo as well. We might decide that it'll be another T-Shroom takeover for bro time, in which case we might try to bring on a guest, but my guess is that Tim will be feeling better around then. I'm not sure, but it is Tuesday, so we've got that bro time today at 3 p.m., and until further notice, that is going to be a full send. And then tomorrow, being Wednesday, we've got the Twitter Spaces. Twitter, oh my gosh. Formerly Twitter, X Spaces at 5:45. You're going to love it. We have a lot of fun there in X Spaces. And, last week we got to hear from Eric Wallen and Matt C., and then a couple of new faces that pop in. See, that's the beauty of X Spaces, is that new people come in, because that X Spaces algorithm is totally different. There's people that come in here that are new, right? Sometimes they don't hit the like button, which is really disappointing. But on X Spaces, you get a lot of new faces, and you can hear them. you can actually hear what their thoughts and their opinions are to get a good idea of the types of folks who are in this community and what their voices sound like. Getting a little bit of that coffee here in the morning. Had to put a little cold brew in there. Amanda keeps cold brew in the refrigerator, and I don't drink that stuff very much. But because when I found out I was going solo today, when I found out it was going to be a T-Shroom takeover, man, had to put a little cold brew in my coffee for that little extra oomph for the show. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into the stories here. We're rocking out at 9:35. I don't think I'm going to end the show early, but it may be the case. We'll see. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the Ethereum news here. Future Ethereum upgrades could allow full nodes to run on mobile phones. This comes from a big event that I guess happened over the weekend or was last week at the Korea Blockchain Week. So that was something that I definitely want to attend that in the future. That sounds really, really exciting. But currently, a full node requires hardware specifications, including a solid-state drive SSD larger than 2 terabytes, along with 16 gigabytes of RAM. To be honest with you, that's not that hard to come by, guys, but for some people it might be. These requirements have increased the levels of centralization, with most full nodes running on centralized servers like Amazon Web Services, right? So instead of getting your own terabyte, right, your own 2 terabyte hard drive, people just use Amazon Web Services and use Amazon servers. Well, that leads to centralization. Buterin highlighted 6 key problems that must be addressed in order to solve centralization in the Ethereum network, calling full nodes a big piece of the puzzle in pursuit of greater decentralization on Ethereum. He also he revealed a little bit more of he pointed to Ethereum's roadmap, which includes stateless clients, including Verkle trees, as means of significantly reducing the hardware requirements for running full nodes on the network. Statelessness involves reducing the network's reliance from all nodes needing to store the entire state of the Ethereum blockchain to only requiring limited space for validating transactions. In a recent blog post, the Ethereum Foundation outlined the concept of weak statelessness, in which only block producers need access to full state data, while verifiers don't require the entire data. So what's going on here is, there's basically upgrades that could allow more efficiency in Ethereum, right? Which the basis of that allows, to me, maybe you're reading this a little differently, but validators no longer would have to have the full state, meaning what fills up that 2 terabytes of a hard drive, that is at the Ethereum blockchain, right? It's the full state, and that would no longer be required to the point where you could actually run it on a much more ubiquitous device, which is a smartphone, right? One of these bad boys right here. I myself have a iPhone, and of course, you look at your phone. Whenever you look at your phone, there's some notification that gets your interest. In this case, it's that my toaster is letting me know that my toast is ready. I forgot to have my toast breakfast for my Internet of Things toaster. Did I make that up? Maybe. All right. That's the Ethereum upgrade, guys. Would this be bullish for Ethereum? Absolutely it would be. It would make it more efficient, right? And ultimately, Ethereum's main focus right now is scalability. So if they could start to operate their blockchain from the most ubiquitous device that there is, and by ubiquitous I mean most available, right? There's tons of mobile devices right now that are sitting idle in someone's pocket that could be producing value just in general, right? Could be doing anything. Could be running render, right? I don't know how useful that would be, right? But it could be performing tasks for not just Facebook that's gathering your data, right? Not just Google that's gathering your data in the background. It could be doing background processes for blockchains. And I'm sure that there's projects out there that are already trying to do something like this. But for a project like Ethereum, the size of Ethereum, to be trying to make this leap, that is a pretty big move. Now, I want to unload. I want to see what you guys think about this theory. So I have a theory for why isn't there a crypto project out there that's proof of work? That is what it does is maybe you call it console coin, right? CONL or something. I don't know. But anyway, so there's like millions and millions, right, of old consoles, whether they be PlayStation or Xbox, maybe GameCube, probably not GameCube, but why not make it to where you could take an old GameCube and basically, what do they call it? Unlock it, and then you could use that in the limited GPU space to mine a new blockchain, a new proof of work blockchain. I think that would be pretty cool, and I think that the appeal would be that essentially there would be, you're not having to make new miners, right? You're not having to use new materials, new rare earth metals to create new miners, right? That are required for Bitcoin. I think it would be an interesting concept. I'm not sure that coin would be the most successful, and I don't even, it's not like I'm sitting here thinking the whole thing through, right? But I think it would be interesting because there's so many Xboxes and PlayStations that have some GPU power. Maybe it's only like a 16th of the power that like a 3070 GPU would have to be able to mine Bitcoin. But it would be interesting to see. And then, folks they could go dust off their old Xboxes and they could start earning a little bit of passive income, right? And then for the pawn shops who bought way too many Xboxes that are now completely useless, they could turn all those Xboxes on and mine and provide value to a blockchain. So interesting. It's an interesting concept. I don't know if it would work. I want to see if anybody in the chat has responded to this. James Sakis said because it will get flooded by ASICs. So if you don't know, ASICs are not just a shoe brand. It is totally unrelated to the shoe brand. I'll go ahead and show you guys because this is valuable crypto information here. Let me ASICS is what we're talking about here. And I will go to my screen and show you guys exactly what's going on here. So a GPU can be used to mine, and you have a GPU in your computer. It may suck. It may be totally terrible, but a graphical processing unit is something that you need to see anything on your screen, right? Now these guys, this is a ASICs mining unit, which is it's basically a GPU on steroids specifically for mining Bitcoin, right? And there's been so many of these that have been made. You can see there's shelves of them, and this is just one mining facility, right? You can see all of these images of ASICs, right? This is more what a regular GPU looks like for those of you who don't know. Which, hey, there's people who don't know, and these are just supercharged. These are engineered specifically for mining Bitcoin. So James Sakis is saying that there would be that the ASICs would flood into that market and they would totally dominate it, and that may be the case. That may be why you haven't seen an Xbox coin, right, or a PlayStation coin, or some kind of blockchain project that takes advantage of all those idle, little weak GPUs out there. James Sakis also says Bitcoin was mined on a normal PC. It was, but not a console. And that's what I'm saying is like a PC, yeah, but that's already more than likely being used to mine Bitcoin if someone knows how to do it, right? Whereas the consoles, if you made something that was seamless, anyway, we're going too deep into this concept. This is supposed to be just a fun little tangent, and it has become way too much. We're gonna go to our next story here, guys. I appreciate James Sakis for your input on this one. Maybe we'll talk more about this where the conversation never ends. In the Investing Bros Discord, is a free link right below in the description. We'll keep talking about this after the show, more than likely. Dustin Singer said, I've already tried seeing if my Series S could mine, and no luck. Yes, so of course, your consoles will not be able to your consoles would not be able to mine Bitcoin right now, and that's kind of the point. I'm saying you'd need to make a totally new proof of work blockchain, and you can mine that coin with your console, right? It unlocks the potential of all those dormant, idle GPUs out there. Well, I said we're going to stop talking about this. I can't because it's such a good idea, right? Crypto Trade said GameStop employees would be rich, and he's absolutely right. You know who else is rich? JP Morgan. So let's read what they have to say. JP Morgan says SEC would likely be forced to approve spot Bitcoin ETFs following Grayscale's win. Well, they won. So let's take a look at some of the details here. Grayscale's win implies that the SEC would have to retroactively withdraw its previous approval of future-based Bitcoin ETFs in order to defend its denial of Grayscale's proposal of converting its Bitcoin trust into an ETF. But such a move would be very disruptive and embarrassing for the SEC and appears unlikely. JP Morgan's analysts led by Nicolas Panagiritzolgulo, goodness gracious, wrote in a note on Friday. Therefore, it looks more likely that the SEC would be forced to approve the spot Bitcoin ETF applications that are still pending from several asset managers, including from Grayscale, the analyst said. So these ETFs are scheduled to come out at some point, right? But it's all up to the SEC. They're scheduled to make these decisions. There were a bunch last week on the 1st and the 2nd and the 4th. The 2nd had like 5 different ETFs that could have been approved, but the SEC decided to kick the can down the road and make the decision in the future. On what basis, I have no idea, other than they just think they need more time to analyze, right? At least that's their excuse. The reality is that a lot of these banks, like JP Morgan, are trying to buy Bitcoin lower. They're trying to buy Bitcoin while it's at a lower price, so that when it inevitably makes its next move to the upside, right, they can get in, right? But here, JP Morgan is coming out and basically making their opinion known, at least this analyst, saying it's essentially a proposal converting its Bitcoin trust into ETF would be very disruptive, right? And it's unlikely. So in terms of that being much more bullish, in July, the analyst said that spot Bitcoin ETFs have existed in Canada and Europe for some time, but have failed to gain significant investor interest. Outflows from gold ETFs over the past year or so have also not benefited Bitcoin funds overall, including futures ETFs, the analyst reiterated. Moreover, while spot Bitcoin ETFs have some advantages over futures Bitcoin ETFs, those benefits are rather marginal, according to the analyst. So they hit you with both sides, right? If you're a journalist for the Wall Street Journal, or if you're a YouTuber for you're a gold bug, right? You're trying to sell gold on your channel. They give you both sound bites, right? They give you a bullish one up here, they give you a bearish one down at the bottom. And guys, that's why, in crypto and in really the financial markets in general, JP Morgan is here they're coming out and explicitly saying it's them, but they're always trying to steer the market in one direction or another. In this case, they're trying to just give you sound bites for both sides, right? They're trying to amplify that JP Morgan could see it going either way, right? Trying to stay in the sidelines, saying, yeah, it's unlikely that there wouldn't be an ETF, but also it's not going to really do much. We've seen them in Canada, we've seen them in other countries, spot Bitcoin ETFs, and did they get much adoption? No. Well, the difference is when those spot Bitcoin ETFs came out, right, the Fed and other central banks had QT, which is what they have now. When they go into QE, things are going to be a little different. Sorry, that was a little bit of a comment for more experienced folks who know about QE, QT, but ultimately, if you know, you know. So what does that mean? Well, it just means that you can ignore it. Anything that comes out of JP Morgan's mouth is likely highly engineered to try to move the markets in one way or another. Now, what you can do is try to trade based on that, predicting, hey, if JP Morgan just said this, the markets might move this way, right? So you can trade based off of that, but don't sell your positions because JP Morgan says that a spot Bitcoin ETF isn't going to move Bitcoin to the upside. Almost every other analyst is predicting that it would. But here's the thing. It doesn't really matter whether it does or not, because Bitcoin is on a halving cycle. It's on a 4-year cycle, right? And so there's bullish events that could help Bitcoin move to the upside and that can coincide with the supply and demand dynamics that are built into the Bitcoin blockchain, right? But it's not JP Morgan. Don't get it twisted. It's not JP Morgan behind Bitcoin pulling the strings. Absolutely not. It's the halving cycle. It's the 4-year cycle. And here is somebody who is very familiar with that. And he's actually noticed something pretty interesting that I wanted to point out. Arthur Hayes is the founder of Mt. Gox, which, if you don't know, it's one of the earliest popular exchanges for Bitcoin. The relationship between Bitcoin and interest rates is breaking down, is something that Arthur Hayes is observing. And he also is bringing you this information first if you were at the Korea blockchain event. And I will get to the chat soon. I'm sure there's all kinds of interesting interjections down there. But let me get to this story quickly. By all accounts, the U.S. should be heading into a recession, and risk assets like Bitcoin or tech stocks such as NVIDIA should be nowhere near the current values thanks to the steepest Federal Reserve rate hike cycle in decades. It's true. So that's true so far. But the opposite is happening. Economists have increasingly course-corrected on their recession forecast. Bitcoin has doubled since the crypto exchange's FTX multi-billion collapse, and NVIDIA shares are soaring. It's different than what's happened before. The standard playbook is starting to break down, says Arthur Hayes. And yes, he's the former chief investing officer at Maelstrom. That's where he is now. He's the founder of BitMEX, which maybe that means it's still going. I'm not sure. But taking a look here, you can see some more details. Rising financial asset prices can. This is his analysis. Continued. Rising financial asset prices can boost capital gains tax and government revenue, but when the Fed raises interest rates, these prices can stagnate, reducing tax revenue, Haynes opined. All the while, this, coupled with the political hostility of austerity, increases deficits, leading the U.S. Treasury to issue more bonds. The resulting interest payments to the wealthy stimulate spending and nominal GDP growth, creating a paradox where the Fed's rate hikes inadvertently fuel economic growth, Haynes said. Whether the Fed raises or cuts, we're in a good position as a cryptocurrency industry, Haynes said. So this is something that this is a narrative that actually coincides with something that I was saying probably more in like late March, which is that you weren't going to see as much. I think it was when we were kind of debating how low Bitcoin was going to go, right? And it got down to 15.7 around that area and bottomed out for now. I don't mean that think we're going to go lower than that, but essentially around that time, folks were thinking, what could really happen? Like, where is the money from the sidelines going to come in and buy Bitcoin here, right? And my whole thesis was, while a lot of people were bearish, thinking it was going to go down to like 9,000, right? In some cases, I was thinking, just because the average person doesn't have the money right now to buy Bitcoin, right, and they may be distressed and looking at Bitcoin's price and not thinking that that's the best place for their money, right, that doesn't mean that the wealthy are not looking at Bitcoin extremely greedily and hungrily, licking their lips trying to buy at that price. And it seems like that is what Arthur Hayes is kind of coming to the conclusion of now. I'm not saying I was early on that theory. Maybe I am. But essentially, it's kind of a similar conclusion. I did not think about it from the Treasury standpoint, which is basically that rich people buy bonds right now and they're doing well, right? Because those interest rates on bonds are high, right? So they're anticipating more wealth in the future. What does that mean? It means that the liquidity that I have today, I may take higher risk with than I would have otherwise, right? If I wasn't anticipating wealth in the future, right? So that's essentially what he's saying. But that is reserved for the rich. That's a phenomenon for the rich who've been buying bonds, who hold bonds, right? And maybe you don't. I don't have a bunch of bonds, right? But the reality is that there are a lot of wealthy families, family offices, a lot of folks who have their money in hedge funds, and those hedge funds are absolutely diversified into bonds, right? So they're doing somewhat well right now, anticipating more wealth in the future. What do you do in that case? You take on more risk, right? So he's basically saying something that I was saying a little while ago, but not so explicitly, and not in relationship to the evidence that he's bringing forward there in the Korea Blockchain Soul Week. Essentially what I was saying was that just because the folks who don't have as much money aren't buying Bitcoin, it doesn't mean that the rich aren't, right? And that's kind of what we're seeing, and that seems to coincide with something else that I wanted to pull up, which you should be paying attention, which is the stock to flow model, right? This is the cycle that actually matters. And when this starts to break down, then you can be scared, right? But not when JP Morgan is trying to fudge you out of the market. Not when the rich, who have plenty of bonds on their balance sheet and have been playing the financial game for a long time, so they know they need to diversify, right? Not when those folks tell you to, but when this tells you to. And so far, this has not told you to. All that this model has told you is that you're playing the game just as you should be playing it if you're a Bitcoin holder, right? If you've been DCAing, even since 69, even since the top, right? If you've been DCAing since then, and I happen to know very well that you are actually not in a bad spot as a result of that, right now. There were, I think it was like 50% of the market was in profit at 30,000, right? So now it's just a matter of time, right? It's not that long before the halving comes. It's predicted to be around April, maybe May of next year, right? Where Bitcoin will have that halving and start seeing a move to 462,000 by 2025, right? By the following spring of 2025. That's the prediction, right? But that's also been the model. That's also been the trajectory of the model for that kind of a price to come in. At least that's what the stock to flow is predicting. So that is not a recipe for a sell rating for Bitcoin, I would say, unless you're a trader, right? Unless you're trading on a daily, maybe a 4-hour or an hour time scale, right? If you're trading on anything like a weekly or a monthly time scale, right? If you're a swing trader or you're an investor, this is not a time to sell. Just because JP Morgan over here is screaming from the rooftops that the spot Bitcoin ETFs are not going to be that bullish for Bitcoin, you look JP Morgan right in the eyes and you say, so what? I didn't buy Bitcoin because JP Morgan thought that spot Bitcoin ETFs were going to be great, and now they've changed their mind, right? I bought it for the reason you bought it. I bought it to hedge against inflation. I bought it because I understand somewhat understand the technology under Bitcoin, right? And I think it's extremely valuable, right? That's why I bought it. If you bought it because you one day thought that there was going to be a spot ETF, then maybe this is a good time for you to sell because your faith was in the spot Bitcoin ETF. And it's not necessarily a bad reason to buy Bitcoin. There's plenty of people who bought Bitcoin because of that, because of the promise of a spot Bitcoin ETF, and that's fine. There's plenty of reason for that. That's just not why I did. And my guess is probably that's not why you did either, right? There's other reasons. And this chart right here exemplifies the reason for the majority of why folks are in Bitcoin, because of the stock to flow, because of the scarcity of the underlying asset, like gold, right? Unlike the dollar. So that's basically the thesis I wanted to bring you guys today. Yes, it is Tuesday. We had skipped a Monday. Sorry about that. That's Labor Day. Hopefully you guys had a great time yesterday and got some time to just kind of lay back and not labor. Right, just let all the other laborers do their work, and you just sit back and don't labor. Right, that's how it works. Publix was open, the grocery stores were open here in my local city of Gainesville, Florida, and I very much appreciate that. So some folks were working, and hopefully you tip them accordingly. But anyway, I really appreciate you guys tuning in today. It's 9:57. You have been tuning into the Investing Bros, and I really appreciate it. Usually I'm joined by a young, handsome gentleman named Tim Warren, but apparently, according to his wife, he had too many hot dogs yesterday. Let's go ahead and turn, as we close here, to the chat and see what is going to be said by them. Chaos Incorporated said, "You the man, Trum," and I appreciate that. I really do. Aprensripto said something like that. If I remember correctly, it was in Ukraine using abandoned warehouses with cheap electricity. So I do not know what that's referring to at all. But Matt C. said, "This is the time to keep accumulating." CBD said, "Don't forget to smash that like button for T-Shroom." And I can't agree with him more. I also can't agree more with Matt C. If you're in a DCA strategy, this is not a time to lay off the DCA, right? If you take a look at a Bitcoin chart, right, it's not necessarily the time to stop buying. Why? Because Bitcoin is at a low price. Is it $25? Could it go lower? Absolutely. That's what the charts are telling us. The charts are telling us that Bitcoin could go lower. That is what they are saying, right? That is why we look at charts, because we can make predictions on the price movement in the future, and you can speculate on that. You can place, you can place investments and trades based on that. The charts are saying it's going to go lower, but that does not mean that you stop DCAing just because the charts are saying that the price could go lower, right? DCAing implies dollar cost averaging, right? And in order to do that, you have to buy at average pace, right? I know the DCA means something slightly different from that, but you have to keep buying, right? In order to get that good average entry point. Right, taking a look here down at the discount zone, now that is going to be at 24.9, right, which we have not wicked down to yet. We have not even come down that on the minute chart, the hourly chart, nothing. That is not even wicked down into. We haven't seen that since we wicked down here back in Jaloon. Whoa, we haven't seen that since June 15th, right? But my guess is that we'll not only see that, but we'll see lower than that. We'll see 23. Okay. That's my guess, right? I'm using the word guess. Doesn't mean it's going to go down there. It doesn't mean that it's going to stop there, right? Could go down to 20, could go lower, could go down to 19 is a number that I have been seeing from analysts. But Matt C says it absolutely right. This is the time to keep accumulating because it's sub 50, guys. $50,000 $50,000 Bitcoin, right? That anything lower than that, in my opinion, is where you want to keep DCAing. Much higher than that, and then maybe you flip to a sell-off DCA, right? You're selling out of Bitcoin at a similar rate. And that's going to be where you use your own discretion, and we'll be here. The Investing Bros will be here to help you through that time as well, to kind of discuss what we're thinking about with our Bitcoin holdings. And maybe you never sell, maybe, and there's plenty of great arguments for that. I don't believe Tim really sells Bitcoin. I sell a little bit. I like to take profit. And I like to also, sell a little Bitcoin to diversify into some different altcoins, which we'll talk about on other shows. But guys, today we mostly stuck to Bitcoin, we mostly stuck to Ethereum, and I really appreciate you guys sticking with us and sticking around and hanging out. Guys, if you can't get enough, you don't have to stop now. The conversation never stops in the Discord. We'd love to have you in there. There's a link in the description. Also, check out some of our other sponsors. We looked at Chart Prime. We also took a look at BitGet. Go ahead and click some of those links and see what those fine vendors are offering. We're not bringing you to them for no reason, right? They're good, solid products, and we would really appreciate if you took a look at them. But guys, I've been T-Shroom. It's been a T-Shroom takeover. My guess is that Tim will be around for Bro Time today at 3 p.m. back on the YouTube, if you remember. Which, by the way, if you're not a member and you want to be a member of the Investing Bros on YouTube, there should be a join button just below me right here. And you're going to absolutely not regret doing that either. So guys, I have totally filled your mind with all kinds of different options to engage more in this awesome community. I hope that you take advantage of at least one of them. I have been T-Shroom, in for the Investing Bros. It's been a blast. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in Bro Time, and if not, we'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor, the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shroom's news got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros.